Hi, I'm Ellen March, Community Content Director for So News Magazine. I'm going to share with you some of my favorite tips that have been submitted by readers over the years. The first tip is to make sure that you're using the correct size spool pin cap for your thread. A lot of people don't realize that there is a reason that your machine comes with several sizes. So you always want to kind of correspond the spool pin cap with the size of your thread spool, and that way your thread isn't going to tangle as it comes off of the spool. Another great tip, you know, some people when they are threading a needle, whether it's a hand sewing needle or a machine needle, they will kind of moisten the end of the thread. You know, some people kind of lick their finger and moisten it to make sure that it's going to go through the needle eye. A great tip is to actually moisten the back side of the needle instead of the thread, and your thread will just glide right through the hole. It's pretty cool. Okay, so this is kind of a cool tip. This is a plastic binder that you would just recycle or take off of a notebook. Really great for storing your bobbins. Great for taking to class. That's a cool idea. Okay, we get a lot of tips about disposing of needles, so here are several ideas. First, salt shaker. You can recycle this, have it next to your machine, and when you're changing needles, just drop one through the hole. Done. Another one, pill bottle. You can label this used pins, put your dull or nubbed up pins in there, and store, get rid of it safely. Another one, so this is actually a gum container with all of the packaging removed. It has a little opening where you can dispose of pins, or a large opening where you can fit rotary blades. So that's kind of a handy thing to recycle. Okay, stabilizer rolls. These things are always, coming apart in your sewing room and making a mess. This is a produce bag that you would just cut and slide over your rolls to keep it nice and tidy. You can also use that for interfacing. Okay, so shelf paper liner. These come in really cute patterns and colors. These are really great as applique templates or small pattern pieces. And the underside has a nice grid on it, so it's really good for positioning and making sure that your patterns are correct to size. Plus, it's sticky, but it's removable. So you can make like a heart applique template, stick it to your fabric, cut it out precisely, and then reuse it. Really great idea there. Okay, turning fabric tubes, not one of our favorite things to do as sewists. If you sew a little shoelace when you are sewing that narrow end, you can just pull that fabric tube out, no problem. And then you can see I've left the selvage on here. Just snip that off and you're good to go. Uses for old shoelaces. Okay, this is a really cool tip. When you are storing your thread, add a little straw to the top and put your bobbin right over it. And then you always know that that's the correct red that goes with that thread. This also fits on a thread rack too, so you can kind of double your storage area. Okay, so this is a baby bottle brush. These are really inexpensive. You can get them, at the 99-cent store. And when you are cleaning your threads, either from your carpet or your floor or your table, it just picks up the threads so easily. You can see I've obviously used this before. And then they just come right out. Really, really great for cleaning. Okay, so when you're sewing on buttons and you need to create a thread shank, these wooden barbecue skewers are really great tools. So you can see I've sewn on this button and it gives me all this room to sew a shank onto. And it's long enough to where you can do several at a time and then just slip it out of there when you're finished. Pretty great tip. Okay, so another storage idea. This is one of those days of the week pill holders, and it's just the right size to hold all of your presser feet that come with your machine. And then you just put little labels on there so you know exactly what foot is for what. Pretty great. Okay, when you're changing the needle on your machine, this is a really great tip. Sometimes if the machine is broken or bent, it will have a tendency to just fall right through the throat plate. So I've gotten some paint chips from the store, decorated them up a little bit, and I often use these on my bulletin board or if I'm making a mood board, something like that. So you can use them to put under the foot when you're changing your needle. And that way, if the needle falls, it just sticks on the paint chip and you can remove it really easily. Plus it's cute and decorative. Okay, so I don't know if you have ever seen one of these, but this is called an eyebrow shaper tool. And if you love using your serger, like I do, it's really great for removing serger seams quickly and easily. You can see these serger stitches are not quite balanced, so I need to remove them. And this eyebrow shaper has this little kind of sharp edge on the end. It's not sharp enough to actually cut you, but you run it across the serger seams. You have to do it several times, but look how easy the threads come up, all those layers of threads, and then you just go in and pick them out. I mean, that is such a time saver instead of using your seam ripper for all those seams. Isn't that great? And these are available at the drugstore, 99-cent store. Great little tool. Okay, so if you are using your tape measure all the time, which aren't we all, flexible tape measure, a really great little tip is to tape a piece of boning to the end of it. Then you always have a bit of a straight edge to use for when you're measuring things or seam allowances, this and that, but you still have your flexible tape. Pretty great tip. Okay, if you do machine embroidery like I do, you know that spray adhesive is your best friend. It's also really great for other sewing applications as well, appliques, things like that. But you can get overspray. Sometimes it'll get on your hands and this and that. And even though most of them are air soluble, it's important to not gum up, your embroidery hoop and just things around you. So when you're spraying, you can use a cut-off milk bottle, spray through the top, and all the overspray is just going to collect in the bottle and not get all over your stuff. So that's a good tip too. And another good thing to recycle. Okay, I don't know if you have ever heard of glueless tape, but it is pretty great. Glueless tape is plastic, slightly flexible, and you can use it to secure your thread ends when you're storing them. It sticks to itself. I didn't cut it long enough, so I need another piece. All right, it sticks to itself, as you can see, and you can store it and your thread isn't going to unravel. So those are some of my favorite tips